Did you know that most people are actually getting poorer the more money they make? It sounds impossible, but think about your own life for a second. You followed every single rule they gave you. You got the degree, you landed the stable job, and you get that direct deposit hitting your bank account every other Friday like clockwork. Yet, here you are on a random Tuesday morning, checking your balance with that heavy sinking feeling in your chest before the app even loads. If you're tired of feeling like you're running on a treadmill, smash that like button right now, because we're breaking down exactly why this happens. You aren't exactly broke, but you're never as far ahead as the math says you should be. You aren't alone in this struggle, but being part of a crowd doesn't explain why you can't seem to get ahead. There is a specific name for the force keeping you stuck right here. It's a cycle designed to swallow every cent you earn before you even have a moment to think about it. Understanding this consumption trap is exactly where our journey begins. The trap never actually announces itself when it arrives. That is the entire point of the design. It starts the second that first real grown-up paycheck lands in your account. It doesn't begin with a massive mistake or a terrible choice. It starts with a feeling. The feeling that you finally earned something for yourself. After years of grinding through school, filling out endless applications, and working entry-level roles, you feel like this number on the screen proves you've made it. And because it feels like you've made it, you start to believe you should live like it. You start to think that an upgrade is just a reward for your hard work. But here is the crazy part. Rewards are supposed to feel good, so you let your life expand. You get a slightly nicer apartment. It's nothing crazy or flashy. Just something a bit better than that dump you lived in during college. It feels completely reasonable after everything you put in to get to this point. Your car becomes a bit more reliable. Your grocery list shifts from whatever is cheapest to whatever I actually want to eat this week. Your wardrobe gets an update, one sensible purchase at a time. None of this feels like you're overspending because none of it is a dramatic jump. It's just your life adjusting to match your new income level. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Eventually, you get a raise. Maybe it's an extra $4,000 a year, or maybe it's $5,500. For the first few days, that number feels huge. You sit down and do the math and realize that's real, life-changing money. You think to yourself, this changes everything. But then, the same thing happens all over again. It's quieter this time, almost like it's on autopilot. Your lifestyle simply absorbs the new money. Your rent goes up because you move to a better neighborhood. Your car payment jumps because the old one finally died, and you decide to get something newer and safer. That credit card balance you worked so hard to get to zero starts creeping back up because 3 months in a row, something unexpected happened, and the card was right there. Before you miss the next big insight, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into your finances. Within 6 short months, that raise is completely gone. You didn't waste it on anything embarrassing, and you didn't blow it on a trip to Vegas. It was just consumed, cleanly and totally, by a life that grew just large enough to swallow it whole. This is lifestyle inflation. It doesn't feel like a problem because every single step you took felt like you earned it. But here is what it actually costs you in the long run. It's not just about the money you spend this month, it's about the cost of that money compounding over time. Every single dollar that gets eaten by a lifestyle upgrade is a dollar that stops working for you forever. It doesn't just vanish today. It vanishes from your future because it never got the chance to grow. Think about it this way. That extra $300 a month you spent on a nicer apartment when you were 24, if that money had gone into a simple index fund instead, it would be worth something massive by the time you hit 34. That's not even about having crazy discipline. It's just about time and the power of compounding interest running in the background while you were busy living your life. The consumption trap isn't about buying lattes. It was never about the coffee. It's about the structural drift that happens when your spending rises at the exact same speed as your income year after year. It means that no matter how much more you make, the gap between what you earn and what you keep never actually gets wider. This trap has a specific kind of gravity to it, a social pressure that makes it invisible. Everyone around you is doing the exact same thing. Living in that nicer apartment becomes the new normal. Wait until you see how a single choice on your very first day of work can change the entire trajectory of your life. Most people don't even realize they're drowning in debt until it's way too late. It's wild because getting a fancy new car or carrying a huge balance on your credit card has become the normal way to live. Right now, the average American household is sitting on over $10,000 in credit card debt. It's not because everyone is out there being reckless or stupid. It's because this trap is the very water we're all swimming in, and nobody ever stops to talk about the water. If you're finding this eye-opening so far, smash that like button for me. Escaping this cycle doesn't mean you have to suffer or live a miserable life. It just means you have to see the trap for what it is and decide to use your next raise for something better. That one choice is what separates two people who start at the exact same spot with the exact same paycheck. To see how this really plays out in the real world, let's look at two guys named Derek and Yu. You both get hired during the same week at a mid-sized logistics company in Columbus. You're both starting out making $54,000 a year. You get the same onboarding folders and sit in the same gray cubicles on the third floor with a view of the parking garage. From the outside, your lives look identical. But then, Derek gets his first paycheck and does what everyone says you've earned the right to do. He goes out and leases a 3-year-old dark blue Chevy Silverado. His monthly payment is $510. Every Monday morning, he pulls into that parking garage feeling like he's finally made it. That truck is his evidence that the grind was worth it. People in the office notice, and they definitely say something. But here's the crazy part. While he's getting all that attention, you're sitting at your desk making a move that no one will see for years. You get that exact same paycheck, but you decide to keep driving your old 2013 Toyota Camry from college. It's got a long crack running across the bottom of the windshield that you keep telling yourself you'll fix eventually. When you park it next to Derek's shiny Silverado, you can feel the gap between the two vehicles like it's a physical wall. It's not exactly shame, but it's a quiet awareness that, to the rest of the world, you don't look like you're moving up. However, while Derek is at the dealership, you're logged into your HR portal. You set up two specific things. First, you contribute just enough to your 401k to get the full company match. That's 4% of your salary that the company doubles dollar for dollar. It's literally free money hidden in a footnote of an email that most people on your floor deleted without even reading. If you want more secrets to building wealth like this, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss our next video. Second, you set up an automatic transfer of $150 every single payday into a Roth IRA. It goes straight into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. That's the whole plan. Nothing dramatic happens next. There's no big party to celebrate your retirement account. Derek keeps pulling into the garage in his truck, and you keep parking that Camry with the cracked windshield. At the company holiday party, someone asks Derek about his truck, and he talks about it for 10 minutes. Nobody ever asks about your Roth IRA. But now, this is where it gets really interesting. Fast forward to when you're both 26. You've been at the company for 2 years now. Derek got a $4,500 raise last spring, and he immediately moved into a fancy 2-bedroom apartment with a gym in the building. His life just expanded to swallow up that extra money. But your raise went somewhere else. Half of it went into your 401k, and the rest went into a high-yield savings account, earning 4.5%. Your money is sitting still, but it definitely isn't dead. Which of these two paths would you choose? Drop it in the comments and let me know. On the surface, it looks like Derek is totally crushing it. He fits the role perfectly. He walks through the office with the confidence of a man whose lifestyle actually matches his big paycheck. Meanwhile, it feels like you're just stuck in one place, and if you ask anyone else in the office, they'd probably agree. But wait until you hear this. There is something massive happening under the surface that nobody at the office Christmas party can actually see. That small $150 transfer you set up? It's been running for 2 straight years now without stopping once. Your 401k match has been grabbing that free company money every single time you get paid. Your index funds have been doing exactly what they are designed to do. It isn't flashy or exciting, and it definitely isn't fast, but it is constantly growing right through all the market noise. The gap between you and Derek isn't obvious to the world just yet, but it is very real. It gets wider every single payday without either of you having to lift a finger. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and smash that like button right now. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The real question isn't whether this plan works, but rather, do you understand the hidden rules of wealth that make it happen? These are the secret laws that decide why one person builds an empire while the other ends up with nothing. Nobody ever gave you a handbook for this. You didn't learn it in high school, you didn't hear it in college, and it definitely wasn't in the welcome folder when you started your job. The only time it even came up was when an HR lady mentioned the 401k match during your first day. And she said it like it was an afterthought, squeezed right between the talk about vacation days and where to park your car. Most people in that meeting were just thinking about what to grab for lunch, so they ended up building their financial lives the only way they knew how. They make money, they spend it, and they try their best not to go broke. If there's a little bit of cash left at the end of 30 days, they put it in a basic savings account that pays almost 0 interest, and they feel like they've done a great job. But that's just playing defense, and you can't build a future on defense alone. But here is the crazy part. Most experts point to the 50-30-20 rule. Not because it's hard to understand, but because almost nobody actually uses it with a real plan. 50% of your check goes to the basics: your rent, the lights, food, and your insurance. 30% goes to the life you want to live right now. The fun dinners, the weekend trips, and the things that make life feel like more than just a grind. Then, 20% goes to your future self automatically, before you even have a chance to touch it. Hit subscribe and tap the bell right now so you don't miss the next part of this breakdown. That last piece is the one that changes your entire life. It's not about the specific numbers. It's about the order you do them in. Most people try to save whatever is left over, but whatever is left usually turns out to be zero. You have to flip the script. That 20% has to move the second you get paid. Everything else in your life just has to work around that move. But remember, this framework is just the starting point. The real growth comes from 5 silent forces that work in the background once you get them moving. First, you have compounding. Your money makes a profit, and then those profits make even more profit. After enough time passes, the math stops looking like small steps and starts looking like a total explosion of growth. It feels like the money is doing the work so you don't have to. Second is time, which is the only thing in this whole world you can never buy back. Every single year you wait to start is a year that the compounding machine isn't running for you. Third is leverage. I'm not talking about debt. I'm talking about systems and automation, like index funds that follow the top 500 companies so you don't have to pick stocks. These are tools that grow your money without taking up more of your time. Fourth is ownership. A paycheck is just money that stops the moment you stop working. An asset, however, is something that keeps making money all on its own. Rich people focus on collecting assets, equity, and index funds. Basically, pieces of ownership that keep making money even while they're fast asleep. But here's the crazy part. Most people miss the 5th rule, which is all about taxes. Think about a Roth IRA. It lets your cash grow without the government taking a single cent in taxes later on. Or consider a 401k, which lowers the amount of tax you owe right now. These accounts are like secret doors hidden right inside the tax laws, but millions of people walk past them every year without even looking twice. None of this information is hidden or classified. It's just that the people who need this advice the most are usually the ones who never get taught how it works. If you're finding this helpful and want to take control of your financial future, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. We're just getting into the good stuff. Now, beneath all 5 of these rules is one major mental shift that makes everything else possible. You have to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like an owner. Instead of spending your paycheck on stuff that loses value the second you buy it, you start putting that money into things that actually grow while you aren't even looking. It sounds simple when you hear it, right? But the hard part is actually making that change when your daily life is constantly trying to pull you back toward the visible scoreboard. I'm talking about that shiny new truck in the garage, the fancy apartment with the luxury gym, or that pay raise that disappears into a more expensive lifestyle before it ever has a chance to grow. That pressure to show off never really goes away. The mental struggle of resisting that urge for years, without anyone cheering you on, is the part nobody warns you about. You won't believe what happens next, because the lonely middle of this journey is way longer than it looks from the outside. Nobody prepares you for how quiet it actually feels. You've set up your automations. You've flipped the script so your future self gets paid first and everything else comes second. Your 401k is grabbing every bit of that company match, and your Roth IRA transfer happens automatically 2 days after payday without you even lifting a finger. You're finally doing the right thing, but life just keeps moving along as usual. You're still sitting in that same cubicle on the 3rd floor, going to those same boring Tuesday morning meetings, and parking in the same garage. You see Derek's huge Silverado parked 3 rows away from your old Camry with the cracked windshield. Nothing in your life announces that you've made a choice that actually matters. Nothing validates your progress. Your money just moves silently in the background, and the rest of the world acts like absolutely nothing has changed. That's the first big secret about building wealth quietly. It has no audience. By the time you're 26, you've been sticking to this plan for 2 years. You go to a birthday dinner for an old college friend, and the talk goes exactly where it always goes when you're in your mid-20s. Everyone is asking, who just bought a condo? Who got promoted to senior associate? Who's taking a 2-week vacation in Colorado? When they ask you, you just say you're doing fine. You watch their eyes glaze over with polite interest before they move on to someone else. There is no way to say, I've been maxing out my Roth IRA into a low-cost index fund. That sounds as cool at a dinner table as buying a new house. You know this, but you still go home feeling something you can't quite describe. It's not that you feel like a failure, but you feel a certain kind of smallness. It comes from moving in a direction that nobody around you can even see. But here is where it gets interesting. The pressure to buy things people can see isn't subtle at all. It's everywhere. It's in every group chat, every casual Friday chat about weekend plans, and every Monday morning in the parking garage where that Silverado is still newer and louder than your car. The moves that are actually building your real future are so boring and unglamorous that they barely even feel like big decisions. It's just an automatic transfer that happens before you wake up, or an HR email you actually bothered to read. You know, the one buried on page 2 under the dental insurance section that tells you the company will match your 401k up to 4% of your salary. This is where the real work happens. Think about it. That's free cash sitting in a tiny footnote that most of your coworkers will never even see. They'll ignore it because the email looked like boring paperwork and the sign-up form takes 15 minutes of actual effort. But you actually filled it out. You grabbed that match. That one small choice, made all by yourself on a random Wednesday afternoon with zero audience, is going to grow into thousands and thousands of dollars over the next 10 years. It doesn't feel like a fortune in the moment. It just feels like filling out a form. This is what we call the lonely middle. It's not some exciting movie montage or a big dramatic turning point. It's just years of making the right invisible choices that stack up quietly, while everyone else gets rewarded for doing things that look flashy. If you're finding this helpful, go ahead and hit that like button real quick. Now, here is where things get interesting. The real stress test always shows up when you least expect it. It's just a normal Thursday morning when a calendar invite pops up. All staff meeting, 9 a.m., no agenda. You know exactly what that means. Everyone knows. By mid-morning, you and your coworker Derek are both walking through the lobby carrying cardboard boxes. You got the same email, the same payout, and the same bad news that neither of you saw coming. But the second you get to your car and toss that box in the back seat, you check your accounts. That number sitting there, the one you built in secret and never bragged about, gives you something Derek simply doesn't have. You have 9 months. You have a 9-month runway to breathe. What happens next for both of you is the moment where being the architect of your life finally matters. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on so you don't miss how this ends. But here is the crazy part. Derek takes the very first job he can find because he literally has no other choice. That truck payment is due in a week. The rent for his 2-bedroom apartment is due on the 1st. Then there's the credit card he's been leaning on. It started as an emergency-only card, but it slowly turned into the thing that pays for the gap between his lifestyle and his paycheck. He doesn't even want to look at the balance because the interest rate is stuck at a brutal 25%. He's desperate, so he applies to every opening he sees. He ends up taking a job at a smaller company for way less money than he was making before. He tells himself it's just for now, but without any savings, he never had the chance to find out if that was true. On the other hand, you take your time. You don't have 9 months of panic. You have 9 months of actual freedom. You say no to the first offer because it's just a sidestep into a dead-end department. You turn down the second offer because the boss gave you a bad vibe that you've learned to listen to. You don't ask anyone for advice because nobody you know has ever been in a spot where they could actually say no to a paycheck. You just look at the balance in your account and let it do exactly what you designed it to do. The job you finally accept actually pays you more than the one you lost. You start the new role and realize something has changed inside you. It's not just confidence, it's a deep steadiness. You know the ground beneath you is solid. You know one bad Thursday can't destroy years of smart transfers and retirement matches. Now this is where it gets really wild. A few months into the new gig, you check your investments on a quiet Sunday night. You aren't worried, you're just curious. You see a number on the screen that makes you stop and stare. Every month, you put about $380 into your accounts. But looking at the math, you realize that last month, your portfolio made more money than that all by itself. Not because of extra work you did or a big move you made that month. It just happened. Which part of this story hits closest to home for you? Let me know in the comments. All those years of compounding were working silently in the background while you were busy living. It stayed active through the birthday parties, those long walks to the parking garage on Mondays, and the stress of moving day. Your money actually earned more than you ever contributed. It did this without your hard work, without your constant focus, and without you even being there. That is the real tipping point. It isn't just a big number on a screen, it's a ratio. It's that specific second when your investments start working harder than you do. Once that balance shifts, there is no going back. You aren't just a piece moving on the board anymore. You actually built the board itself. But here's the crazy part. The realization of what that truly means doesn't hit you all at once. It shows up on a random Tuesday night, months later, when your phone rings and it's your mom. Your dad is in a hospital 2 states away, and nobody knows what happened yet. You hang up and immediately open your laptop. You don't look for the cheapest flight, you book the very next one available. You find a hotel right next to the hospital, and book it with no checkout date, because you have no idea how long this will take. You don't even think to check your bank balance before doing any of this. The thought never even crosses your mind. If you're finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a video. Now this is where it gets really deep. You end up sitting in that waiting room under those bright lights for 5 straight days. You are 100% present. The stress of logistics never touches you. Your money solved every problem that money is capable of solving, and it did it quietly, without asking anything of you when you needed to be somewhere else. This is what those early morning transfers were always for. It wasn't about the total balance or getting a small raise. It was about this, the freedom to show up completely when it matters most because the foundation you built on 100 boring paydays finally held firm. You didn't make more than Derek, and you didn't out-hustle him. You just understood something sooner, that the choices nobody sees are the only ones that truly grow over time. The retirement forms that took 10 minutes and the automatic transfers that ran while you slept were the real heroes. The safety net you built in silence before you ever needed it is why this worked. Next time you feel the urge to upgrade your phone or get a bigger apartment just to feel like you're winning, remember that pull is a trap designed to catch people trying to get ahead. The Camry is still in the driveway, and the transfer still runs quietly. But ask yourself this, when your floor gets tested, will it hold? Which part of this hit home for you? Let me know in the comments.